Hello, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today I titled this message, Pride Exposed. When the enemy shows up with pride, you best believe there's going to be destruction. We see pride everywhere. We see pride in families, in ethnicities, in sexualities. People who are very braggadocious about their thoughts, opinions, ideas, lifestyle, join our movement. As I've said in other audio, as long as a movement is ordained, appointed, anointed by the one true God, we have no worries. It's going to be like the civil rights movement, and there's going to be some change. But when pride shows up and it shows itself to be strong, there will be destruction, and movements end up being railroaded. They only go but so far. They only get but so much done until the next 10, 15, 20 plus years, whenever God feels like opening up that door again. The Exodus was a movement. There were leaders, Moses and Aaron. And then it got so big that they had to have other leaders to help judge, to help out, period. And some of you all, that's what you're going to need to do with all of your grassroots movements, your organizations that you are very much already a part of, and they're growing in leaps and bounds. But this business of pride, there's no room for that. There's no room for it. You can be able to promote change by being humble. If there's anything that individuals should have learned from the civil rights movement, was that part of the movement that was peaceful, even though there was evil all around, it was God showing humility. What humility looks like in the face of difficulty, in the face of a struggle. You don't go around parading yourself cloaked in pride. We got family pride. We got a godless society of pride. We've got gay pride. We've got black pride, white pride. We've got Asian pride, Latino pride. We got people who are part of occult groups, and they've got their signs, symbols, and colors, and they got pride. And pride can be overt or it can be covert. But either way, there's pride there, and God deals with it. When the demonic is at work, he always brings about pride. That's why for some people, they can't really see the good in some of these movements, because they got exposed to, unfortunately, pride. When we had our black president, there were those prideful individuals that didn't mind getting sassy, didn't mind talking all crazy, acting as if he was going to always be there. And then comes along a person who has much white pride. Stay with me. Some folks say there's nothing wrong with pride. Oh, okay, I beg to differ. And if you call yourself a believer and you're saying that, you haven't been reading your scriptures. Proverbs 11:12, when pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with the humble is wisdom. The fear of the Lord is hatred of evil, pride and arrogance in the way of evil, and perverted speech I hate. Proverbs 8:13. Proverbs 16:5, everyone who is arrogant in heart is an abomination to the Lord. Be assured he will not go unpunished. Psalm 10:4, in the pride of his face, the wicked does not seek him. All his thoughts are, there is no God. We even got some folks who take pride in saying, oh, honey, there is no God. Okay. But who does one call out to when things get really, really rough? He or she just might call on his or herself. And let me tell you, that doesn't work so well. He or she may say, I don't need a faith. Okay, you don't need a faith. But I'll tell you, there are more people that are going to want to have a faith before this season is all said and done. Mama is gone. Daddy is gone. Brothers and sisters are gone. Sickness, affliction, money losses, suicides, drug use, alcohol use. People having temper tantrums about, I'm not able to go to stores. I'm not able to get what I need and all that, because not everybody's going to go along with stay open. Okay. No more than everybody wanted to go along with stay home. Because some folks are like, I done had too many people around me that got sick or died. I'm not trying to open up some business because somebody doesn't want to stay home. We coming back to that. Pride. One takes pride in his or her family. So much, in fact, that there are the lies, the secrets, and the cover-ups. Ego gets in the way. The narcissistic personality takes over, recruits other people to be just as prideful. We heard this sort of thing in rap songs back in the day. We saw this sort of thing on the walls of homes where people had family crests. We heard this sort of thing when people said, oh, no. We're not going to get mixed up with those people. Those people would mess up our reputation. Those people do not have the education, the wit. They don't have too much going on. They don't take pride in their communities. They can't come over here. Pride shows up and someone gets humbled. Pride shows up and here comes destruction. Oh, is that how you feel about us? You could have just came over here and helped us. But no, you didn't want to do that. You wanted to promote your pride. Rather than sit down and talk to us about your struggle, you go along and call us all these names, telling us that we are homo. Come on. Pride. I take pride in my community. Oh, you do? That's why we keep some people out of here by any means necessary. Pride. Ooh, when you really think about pride, isn't it ugly? It really isn't so nice. When you really think about pride, pride divides, doesn't it? That's why God said to be humble. That's why there are so many different ways to show humility rather than show pride. I understand that when people get angry, they tend to run to pride because pride makes you what? Feel good temporarily. But then it creates this division, though, with those individuals who you do want in your life. But your pride got in the way. For some of you all, not all. Your pride kept some folks distant. Your pride kept some attitudes going. Your pride in your money, in your house, in your car is why some folks didn't want to mess with you. Come on, we got to speak the truth today. Pride is being exposed. Your pride is what cost you some fans, celebrity. Your pride is what's keeping you from falling in love, some of you all, and having a quality relationship and wonderful children. You think that popping your collar and puffing up and exaggerating, you think all of those things are good, but the Lord says they're not. Some folks, when holiday seasons show up, Father's Day, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, anniversaries, Christmas, Even a 4th of July, at a cookout or at a family reunion, here comes pride. Someone's got to brag about all of what their daughter and son accomplished. And your eyes just roll over. Or somebody that you call on the phone. Hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. How's your kids? Oh, let me tell you, so-and-so, she's doing this and she's doing that. Oh, I didn't call you for all of that. Good Lord. Humble yourself. When pride comes, then comes disgrace. But with the humble's wisdom, how many individuals took pride in their sons and daughters, let's be honest, and then your son or your daughter said something or did something that disgraced you, shamed you, embarrassed you. Whether God was a part of it or not, the point is that it happened. But some folks didn't connect the dots as to why it happened. When a parent lives vicariously through a son or daughter, secretly wishing, hoping that if that was me, going around talking about all of what the son or daughter has accomplished to people who you know are on that struggle bus, you best believe that son or daughter is going to end up being ensnared, being caught up, falling away, doing something that disgraces the one who's bragging. Oh, I know some of you all don't like how God works, but it is a humbling effect that has to take place with some braggadocious individuals. Should have never bragged. It would have been better just to compliment the one who you respect, admire, what have you. But to go around and talk about a son or daughter or a family as if, my grandma used to say, your poop don't stink. That's a problem. That's a problem. And our God doesn't like that sort of thing. The rappers messed up a long time ago, recruiting so many people to take on this personality because, yes, I know you got lack. I know that you on that struggle bus, but you could have been able to do some things humbly. You could have been teaching the people, preaching to the people, positivity, uplift, encouragement, rather than negativity while puffing yourself up. Some folks talk about the minister, but then you got to look at the entertainer. Some folks talk about the entertainer, but you got to look at that manager. Some folks talk about the manager, but you need to look at that mother or that father who's prideful in spirit, egotistical, narcissistic, selfish, self-absorbed, self-centered. It's all about me. It's all about the benefit. You're not allowed to sit back and relax in the comfort of your home and mind your own business. Somebody who has a spirit of pride is going to put you to work. Whether it's God's work, their work, it don't matter. They're going to put you to work because they need to feel special. Because where there's pride, there's somebody who they really do have low self-esteem. They really do have some shortcomings, some flaws. But if you surround yourself around enough people who make you feel good, right, then you start to feel good. But then you take it a step further and start running around talking about all of what these people have done. You know, all of your blessings, all of your accomplishments. This is where God says, oh, I'm going to take something away from you. I've seen it. I've experienced it. That's why I don't want some of you all to go through it. I want you to be humble. When pride comes, then comes disgrace. But with the humble is wisdom. Look at all of the entertainers who were Billboard chart-topping artists at the top of their game. And then along comes someone who brings them down low. Along comes a scandal, a circumstance, a situation. And a lot of times guilty. Because their pride gave them false protection, made them think that they could get away with some things and they would never be found out. Jealous people are around prideful folks. If one wants to build up a circle of pride, which you wouldn't want to do that, but let's just say, hypothetically, one wants to do this sort of thing. In that circle will be jealousy, will be the thief, will be the liar, will be the people who you don't want to be in that circle of pride. And it's hard. It's hard to find out who exactly are those people when they're good actors and actresses. Somebody who you've been with for 20, 30, 40 some years could turn on you and end up using pride against you as well as those that you love. How might they do that? I'm glad some folks have asked. It starts with the bragging while belittling you. You can't seem to fix that, but let a man do that. You don't know what you're talking about, child, please. I mean, I don't care what school you went to. I've been around on this planet long enough, and let me tell you, that's why I got what I got, and you don't. See, it's that chipping away. Narcissists are good for doing this. That chipping away when they know what your weaknesses are, what your flaws are. Or they suspect or they think that they know. Sometimes we give them information that looks like they're right on something when they're really not. But I need you for a little bit, so I'm going to make you feel good. But I know that God's working. And I know that when pride shows up, somebody's going to fall. I don't want to be around for the fall. Somebody say that. I don't want to be around for the fall. If the movement is built on pride and people being in front of the camera and showboating and all that other stuff, I don't want to be a part of that. I want to be behind the movement that's up there in the boardroom, up there in the big house. There's too many folks out there in the field and not enough people sitting down in these boardrooms. Come on, in these places where some things can get done, movers and shakers, people who are responsible for policies, things like that. Then once you get the meeting, you don't come out the meeting talking about, guess who I was meeting with? And guess what they're going to do? If there was anything that many individuals should have learned when they were bragging once again about the black president, was that what goes up does come down. And there's always going to be somebody on the back end, on the way to the top, looking to bring someone down that you esteem, that they know that you love so much. Did anyone learn anything from Martin Luther King's death, from Robert Kennedy's death, from John Kennedy's death? Did anyone learn from some of the leaders of the grassroots movements back in the 60s who ended up being murdered? If they suspect that there's even just a little bit of pride going on, there is that one who's going to stir up the pot. While we're trying to put some beef and potatoes and carrots and green beans and making that roux all so well for that stew, here comes somebody who wants to put some poison in that stew. They don't want to put the seasonings. They want to put some poison in that stew. And so when all of this is happening in media and things are changing, there's always going to be that one who prides his or herself on whatever he or she prides his or herself on to bring some people down. There's an adjective that you can put in front of pride, and you can pick any one of these movements and stick an adjective in front of them, and I will tell you that God is not in support. He's not. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Proverbs 16:18. Proverbs 29:23. One's pride will bring him low, but he who is lowly in spirit will obtain honor. Why is he over there getting some kind of accolades? Nobody knows who he is. Why does she get a deal? I mean, I've been in this industry for 15, 20, 30 years, and she's sitting up here and she getting this and that because she's lowly in spirit. You are not. You allowed the money, the fame. You allowed all of your little requests that were being met by everyone to put you on this platform where you think that nobody can knock you off. Some folks, they think that they cannot be knocked off. Some folks have been in front of the limelight for far too long. There was a limited amount of time for them to be in the limelight. That was it. And the more they stay in the limelight, they end up sooner or later experiencing some kind of shame. Something that brings them low. Then they get on a talk show or a radio show or some type of show talking about, during that time in my life, I experienced, so much. And, I think maybe I had to go through that because, so many people, they were relying on me. And maybe at times I was a bit difficult, and which some individuals don't humble themselves like that. They just don't. They'll blame drugs, alcohol, anything but pride. Proverbs 8:13, the fear of the Lord is hatred of evil. Pride and arrogance and the way of evil and perverted speech I hate. If one is fearful of the Lord, he or she's not going to go down that path of evil. He or she's going to prevent his or herself from being mixed up with evil communications, evil occult groups, evil anything. But when one is filled with pride, there they go, right down that path of evil. Then they scramble their way back to the Lord when it gets too difficult. I'm going to start preaching Jesus. I'm going to start having a Jesus ministry. I'm going to start singing songs about Jesus and whatever else. Yeah, because your pride and your arrogance got the best of you. And not only that, other people saw your pride and arrogance and they didn't like it. And now they're contemplating on killing you. Uh-oh. Oh, yeah. Depending on how influential that prideful individual is, will determine whether he or she lives or dies. If he or she doesn't stick with the agenda, doesn't stick with the script, starts talking out of pocket, acting as if they got all sorts of secret protection, the enemy will show up and destroy that person. God will allow it. I know some folks will be like, oh God, why? Because God doesn't like pride and arrogance. He wants humility. He wants people humble, not walking around talking about pride this and pride that. Those movements don't last for long. Those sorts of conversations turn people off. You're not winning friends by talking prideful. Look at how many rappers ended up having beef with each other because people kept running their mouths about all that they got. Yeah, you got this and you got that. And you're saying it to people who don't have what you got. Ministers do the same thing. And after a while, I don't want to go to your church no more. Why? Because it seemed like every time I show up, you talking about all of what you got and you're not trying to share it with nobody. You're not trying to share no platforms. You're not trying to help people, that don't know you. Only people who know you get special favor. You see, God sees this and he says, I've given them so much, but I'm going to take from them. Their children end up being wayward in the faith. They end up not being able to support their lavish lifestyles. Their pride gets in the way of them asking, begging, pleading. They send somebody else to do that. God opposes the proud, saints, as well as sinners. James 4:6, but he gives more grace. Therefore it says, God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Unmerited favor. Once again, they're asking, how is it that you do what you do? And what kind of relationship you got with God that he would allow you to be writing these kind of books? You see? God opposes the proud, but he gives grace to the humble. He knew what men were saying, what women were saying behind our backs. He knew what was in a man or woman's heart. And while we sat, still respecting, still honoring, still acknowledging, God said, I'm going to raise you up. I'm going to raise you up to expose pride. The narcissistic individual, it's injury to me. All of what you're talking about is injury to me. It's injury to the people who I love. See? No, it's not. What it is God exposing pride. Now, if those people fall under that, it is what it is. But God exposes the condition of the heart. Not your name. Man, woman, they can do that. But the condition of your heart. Some folks can listen to message after message after message comfortably, knowing that I'm not going to expose your name, but I am going to expose the condition of your heart. And God says there's pride, there's evil, there's arrogance. And these things he doesn't want entering into his kingdom. Some folks think that they can bring all this baggage before their eyes close with them once their eyes do close. I beg to differ. You will not. This is why some of these deaths, how people die, where they're found and so forth. Lord Jesus, if they didn't want to humble themselves when they were walking upright, God can use their death in such a way where it not only in their suffering humbled them before they checked out of here, but humbled all of us. People found face down. People found after they fell down the steps to their death. People found burnt up. That's humbling. Come on. That's humbling. Many people not in their bed, dying in their sleep. Not the sudden death. No, there was a degree of suffering before the ambulance came. The fear of the Lord is hatred of evil. Pride and arrogance in the way of evil and perverted speech I hate. Proverbs 8:13. People brought low. I said in one audio, I said, if they won't be brought low above ground, God will surely bring them low below ground. James 4:6. Once again, there's that unmerited favor, right? Folks can receive unmerited favor if they would just cast away pride. When you have these conversations with some individuals who you know full well, I'm talking about them in this message, they're going to allow their pride to cut you off. They're going to cuss at you or yell at you, or they're going to walk away from you. Or they're going to figure out a way to pay you back for your conversation. That's a classic of the narcissist. They don't like when we expose them. They don't like when we got that cutting speech. Proverbs 16:5. Everyone who is arrogant in heart is an abomination to the Lord. Be assured he will not go unpunished. He will not go unpunished. What some of you all have witnessed in such a short span of time, so much chaos, discord, you name it. A lot of arrogant people. If you sit down and think deeply about every situation, that yes, the majority would say tragic, oh my God, terrible, or what have you. Somewhere in the background, there's an arrogant heart, a prideful heart. You can't tell me what to do. You see, who do you think you are? And no, sometimes the punishment doesn't fit the crime. But God allows things. Not just to allow them. He allows them because there's lessons to be learned in them. Everyone who is arrogant in heart is an abomination to the Lord. Remember, we only see the surface of a lot of things that go on with people. But God sees the heart. Everyone who's arrogant in heart is an abomination to the Lord. Be assured he will not go unpunished. We may not like how that thing went down. We may not appreciate what people have done in teaching lessons, in God himself teaching a lesson or two. But arrogance is something that God doesn't want us having before we check out of here. And time again, just when we think that we're comfortable and we got this and we know something, God comes along using a person that says something that makes us go back to the drawing board again. I guess I don't know so much. He uses someone that comes up and says, oh yeah, by the way, did you consider this scripture? Oh yeah, that's right. That one too now. He uses someone to come over and talk to you about any number of things. And your mind may not be ready to deal with that thing. Or your body's just so tired, and you know the excuses that some of us make. But there's a humbling that takes effect. When you've been shamed enough, disgraced enough, exposed enough, there's a humbling that takes effect. I'm a witness. There's a humbling that takes effect. I feel tears right now because someone wanted so very much to be a part of the family, a part of the group. He or she even went so far as to deny his or her culture, lifestyle, you name it, to fit in, to assimilate. Because I want a piece of the white pride, the white privilege. And God said, enough. Because I'm coming in that domain, in that area. And I'm going to humble some people. If you don't want to be a part of the destruction, I suggest you get gone. Matter of fact, your mama and your daddy warned you about some things a long time ago. In the pride of his face, the wicked does not seek him. All his thoughts are, there is no God. Psalm 10:4, someone saying, oh, you know, all this God talk. Someone needs to tell this woman there is no God. Just because God is not real to you, just because you don't have the life experiences that other people have experienced, doesn't mean that there's no God. Matter of fact, all I do is just look out my window and see that sky. Come on. And see the sun. We could start from 101, elementary. Even a child knows that, no man made that sky, mommy. Come on. Oh, there's no man that made all of these creatures that crawl. It's far too much in this dirt that I'm playing with. But see, pride affects a person's mind where they are not like a child of God. They don't think like a child of God. A child got more sense than some of these adults. Proverbs 18:12, before destruction, a man's heart is haughty. Always. Before destruction happens, before there's the family division, the family divisiveness, God said, go back to those times where you saw all those prideful men. I said, oh yeah. That's how Socially Sweet, Privately Cruel, Abusive Men was birthed. That book, because it goes back to what I saw as a child. I humbled myself before the Lord as a child. He called my mind to remembrance of all the prideful men when they were strong, when they were nice looking, when they were fit. Not now. We're talking about years ago. Some folks is tripping on now stuff. This not now, because I'm not talking to these folks, and many of them are either sick or 6 feet deep in their graves. So no. A lot of this is based on the pride that they had many years ago. And now I got sons, and I don't want to observe my sons talking the kind of talk that some of those men was talking when I was growing up, walking the kind of walk that some of those, you remember some of them pimp walks? That pride showed up and got some folks shot too. I ain't got your money. Well, when you plan on getting my money? I told you I ain't got your money. And then some folks decided to teach some people some lessons. Some were spared their lives while others weren't. And God, he said, don't give the devil credit. He says, I know I could have stopped some things, but I didn't, because I knew a man's heart. I knew a woman's heart. I know you prayed for some folk, and I know you were disappointed when I didn't answer your prayers. But this issue that they had, you thought it was about you, or you thought it was about whatever you thought it was about. It was really between me and them. That's God. Some folks, you tripping on some old stuff and you connecting dots that aren't meant to be connected. God said it was pride that brought that man to his grave prematurely. It was pride that ended up causing that woman to fall on her face. It was pride that we saw when that man got beat up by his brother. He beat the pride out of him. And he still got up talking mess, and he smacked him just one more time. And we saw this and we were like, you know what? I don't want to be on the wrong side with the Lord. God said, you come to me like a child. You don't come to me talking to me any old kind of way. Some folks, they do that in prayer. I understand you upset, but you need to humble yourself, because that's the God that created you. Haven't you experienced enough losses, enough defeats? Your hands, your arms are too short to box with a mighty God. Do you want him to show up and bring about more pain upon you because you don't want to humble yourself? I'm warning some folks, you got a butt whooping coming. And we're going to hear about that butt whooping. And it's going to bring a lot of people closer to the Lord. Come on. I'd rather see one person get their behind whooped and thousands of people turn their heart toward the Lord than thousands of people walk around here proud as peacocks and end up in hell somewhere. Because I tell you, God, he can use us. And some folks will be like, whoa. Yeah, I would have never thought that God would use her in the way that he used her. There's a bigger picture to be seen. God exposes the pride, not necessarily the name. So much focus on names these days. God exposes the pride in all its forms. In every situation, pride is being exposed. A man who walks around, a woman who walks around with pride just growing in his or her heart, it shows up in the most destructive ways, doesn't it? You got to do something with the pride. Folks are so focused on color, color, color. You got to do something with the pride that's in the man or the woman's heart or in the establishment or in the group. It's the pride. They got the oaths. They got the symbols. They got the sign. They got the money. They got the cars. They got the mansions. You got to do something with the pride. You've got to dispense, divide the wealth. No one person should have all of that. Money, fame. Let's spread it around. Look at how many people on that one salary could be blessed. Yeah, there's some people that's reevaluating their business model. Once they start digging for one thing, they go, you know what? There's some other things we need to work on. I know, right? Because you see these people walking around here so prideful because they see only themselves. We going to change some things here. We going to color this up a bit. We going to bring people from all sorts of backgrounds, cultures, and so forth. And we want the most humble of humble. We don't want them talking all that prideful talking in interview. Come on. See, you got to even change the way the interview process is. Why should I come in here bragging? Let my work speak. Try me out a little bit. Give me a 30-day trial and see what I'm made of. I'm giving some people some diamonds. Philippians 2:3, do nothing from rivalry or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Even in the music videos, all these females walking into, a room or surrounded by a man, or I should say they surround the man, the one man or two men or whatever. And they're so conceited. You can see the conceit. Satan's women all over the place. And they were birthed out of homes where father, where was he again? Emotionally absent, physically absent, spiritually distant, no God in sight. And conceit is all over the place. I need some attention because my daddy didn't give me no attention. So you want to be rubbed up on one man and there's 50 of you women. Jesus. Now, if there's going to be a little bit of pride, why don't you have some pride and put some clothes on? It's that time of year where we got all these fatherless daughters out here showing cheeks for weeks. Lord Jesus. And God brings a woman down low. Now she got a disease or she got something that's messing with her body. And now she's got to put some clothes on. Or she's got to be in the hospital with some tubes up her nose. She don't look so pretty now. Or she's suffering with an illness that nobody really knows about. Pride. Pride can be an illness for some people. It can make some people sick because they're trying to keep up with everybody and everything. They're trying to do everyone and everything. They took pride in the fact that they were like a celebrity on the deep web or on the dark web. They took pride in the fact that they got paid all this money to do some of the most despicable things going. They took pride in all of these so-called accomplishments. And now their body is broken beyond repair. Haughty eyes and a proud heart, the lamp of the wicked are sin. Proverbs 21:4. Going back to the prideful interview. Galatians 6:4, but let each one test his own work, and then his reason to boast will be in himself alone and not in his neighbor. If you're doing your own work, you can talk about your own work. But some people, they're taking other people's work, other people's accomplishment, and passing it on as their own. because it makes them feel good about themselves. And God sees that too. The pride of your heart has deceived you, you who live in the clefts of the rock, in your lofty dwelling, who say in your heart, who will bring me down to the ground? Obadiah 1:3. Who will bring me down to the ground? God's been doing that. While they sitting up here looking at this particular ethnicity, and there's going to be some more from other ethnicities that's going to be brought down to the ground. They plan on doing a lot to a lot of individuals all over the world. And there are those that it is currently happening. It's just that you don't see it because, well, it's not relevant to your media, to your nation, to your city, to your borough, to your country. But it's happening. The prideful individual is so destructive. He or she is recruiting other people to be just as destructive. We got those that like to use their mouths to bring people down. So they say a lot of prideful words, prideful speech, right? Proverbs 21:24, scoffer is the name of the arrogant, haughty man who acts with arrogant pride. And so the scoffer is even brought down to the ground. Well, I didn't do anything. No, but you said something. You said something. I wasn't a part of it, but you snickered. You laughed. Round them all up. Get them gone. Because they're showing what's in their heart. The Lord said, even in a laugh, even in a curled up lip, they're showing what's in their heart. When they're not speaking up, knowing all too well that those jokes are insulting. They're quite comfortable. The heart has to be changed. But when his heart was lifted up and his spirit was hardened so that he dealt proudly, he was brought down from his kingly throne and his glory was taken from him. Daniel 5:20. From the White House to the jailhouse. So many people got those stories, don't they? I used to have. I used to be on top of my game. I used to be at this and I be a that. Yeah, and now all you are is something else that we can't even mention on this audio. This is the type of thing that pride can do. It can make a person lie to protect his or her pride. Other things. It can make a person boast about things that are not honest and true, that do nothing more than divide and conquer. Pride doesn't care about marriage and family. When you really get down deep with pride, pride does not care about marriage and family. Pride doesn't even care about one's job, but I guess I gotta do just enough to get my paycheck. Pride decorates itself up, talks about how good and how nice and how wonderful one is, and we know differently. Pride eventually creates all sorts of violence. Because once again, people don't want to hear that kind of conversation coming out people's mouths about that pride and this pride. If you want to win people, you are humble. I've said that before and I'm going to say it again. You are humble. Therefore, pride is their necklace. Violence covers them as a garment. Psalm 73:6. Oh, you going to roll up on me? You know I'm the biggest, baddest. Okay. And then there's a bullet. There's a bullet that shows up and brings a man low. Okay. Now how big and bad is he? Lord Jesus, There is evil among the land, and we want some people to stop. Stop with this pride. Stop with this pride. You could reach us without all this pride business. Your heart was proud because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom for the sake of your splendor. I cast you to the ground. I exposed you before kings to feast their eyes on you. That's Ezekiel 28:17. 1 Timothy 3:6. He must not be a recent convert, or he may become puffed up with conceit. This is why you don't get people who are new, who are young, who, in positions of power so soon, so quickly, don't know what they're really doing. Because they get puffed up. They get conceited. And then the Bible says, and fall into the condemnation of the devil. That is the worst thing you can do as a parent, is to go and give powerful positions over to your children who know nothing about being humble. They may know the business, but they know nothing about being humble. And so God will bring them down low. You best believe that. He does it. No, you're not ready for this. You're not ready for that. You sit your behind down over there and you listen and you learn. Because you don't get this platform. You see, some of you, all you got to tell some people, you don't get this. Your children are not responsible. You don't get your name recognized among men and women because you have pride in your heart. You see, there were times where I said I would like to, be that one to say, yeah, shout out to this one and that one. And the Lord says, some folks are prideful. You don't want to do that. Now I understand years ago why Oprah said, I'm going to be on that magazine. Because she knew about the circle of pride. Woo! How some people would act. So how some people would go off. Yeah, Oprah put you on the cover and didn't put me? Yeah, I'm on Oprah's cover. You see? Once again, we got people who they don't mind recruiting people to be prideful. Jeremiah 49:16. The horror you inspire has deceived you, and the pride of your heart. You who live in the clefts of the rock, who hold the height of the hill. Though you make your nest as high as eagles, I will bring you down from there, declares the Lord. There's another warning. That's the second warning for the wealthy. That's the second warning for the wealthy in this message. And by the time I get to the third time, there's going to be an issue for someone if they don't humble his or herself. Mark 7:20 and 23. I leave you with this. And he said, what comes out of a person is what defiles him. For from within, out of the heart of man, come evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, coveting, wickedness, deceit, sensuality, envy, slander, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within and they defile a person. And this is what we've been seeing in media, defiled people. If you got even the slight thought in your mind and you go and you act on that thought, God will bring you down low sooner or later. I've seen it over and over again. I stand by the words that I speak on this channel. I know, even from personal experience, there is no room for pride. I thank you as always for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen. You've been listening to YouTube NM Enterprise 7. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment. We do welcome giving on this channel. And thank you in advance.